Put the Iliad and the Odyssey side by side, and one thing is missing. Both poems carry the name Homer, but where we expect to find an author, a life, a face, a dependable story, we find an empty space. The Iliad follows Achilles through a brutal part of the Trojan War. The Odyssey follows Odysseus through storms, monsters, temptation, and disguise as he struggles to reach home. Together, they influenced stories for thousands of years. So who created them? Was Homer one person? And did he even exist? The familiar Homer is an old blind poet. Museums display solemn busts of him. But these faces were imagined long after he was supposed to have lived.
They are not portraits made from life. Later Greeks offered many other answers. Chios, Smyrna, Colophon, and several more cities claimed Homer as their own. Biographies gave him parents, journeys, blindness, and a dramatic death. But these accounts appeared centuries later, and they contradict one another. None of this proves that Homer was invented. A real poet's life could simply have been lost. It does mean that the famous name does not lead us to a person we can identify with confidence. If the biographies cannot reveal Homer, perhaps the poems can. Listen to their repeated phrases. Achilles is often swift-footed. Dawn has rosy fingers. The sea is wine dark.
In the original Greek, phrases like these supply a clear image while fitting useful places in the poem's strict beat. Whole scenes also return in familiar forms. A guest is welcomed. A warrior puts on his armor. A ship leaves the shore. The details can change, but the basic sequence gives the singer a reliable path through the story. This is different from a modern novelist working alone on a fixed manuscript. Picture a trained singer before an audience. The singer knows the characters, the main events, the rhythm, and a large store of useful phrases and scenes. Those parts become the material for a performance. Memory does much of the work, but memory is not a recording.
The singer keeps the plot, relationships, themes, structure, and special language. One scene can grow, another can shrink. Some words change while the story remains recognizable. In the 20th century, Milman Parry and Albert Lord studied oral singers in the Balkans. They wanted to understand how someone without a written script could perform a long, coherent story before a live audience. Parry and his collaborators collected more than 12,500 texts from several genres. They recorded more than 3,500 aluminium discs. Their collection includes one complete oral epic longer than 13,000 verses. When a singer performed the same story again, the new version was not identical. Its wording and length could change.
Yet it remained coherent, and listeners still knew which story they were hearing. This was not ancient Greece preserved in the modern Balkans. The people, languages, and traditions were different. The recordings cannot tell us exactly how the Iliad or the Odyssey formed. They prove a narrower point. People can carry very long poems through trained performance without memorizing every word. The repeated patterns in the Greek epics now look less like repetition for its own sake and more like flexible tools. A gifted singer could inherit those tools and still make something exceptional, just as a musician can create new work with a shared musical language. But this returns us to Homer.
did one remarkable poet shape both epics?
Did separate poets create the Iliad and the Odyssey? Did a singer dictate a major performance to a writer? Or did many performers, writers, and editors shape the poems over a long period? Each answer has serious supporters. None has settled the matter. Repeated language reveals a tradition, but it cannot count the people within it. Strong design may suggest exceptional talent, but it cannot give that person a name, face, or life story. A tradition and an individual are not opposites. One singer could inherit old material and transform it. One or two exceptional poets could have given the epics much of their power, even if many other people carried the stories before and after them.
Writing does not give us one clear finishing point. Early surviving papyrus copies contain added lines, missing lines, and different wording. This does not mean that no earlier written version existed. It shows that writing did not immediately freeze one universal text. The copies became more alike over time, especially from about 150 BCE. What reached us came through a chain. Singers learned old stories, performers reshaped them, versions were written down, copies were compared, selected, and corrected. One person might have made a major difference at any stage, but the evidence does not identify one sole maker of both poems. So, did Homer exist? Possibly. Homer may have been a real and brilliant poet whose life vanished.
There may have been two major poets, or Homer may be the name later Greeks placed over a longer tradition shaped by many voices and hands. The clearest answer is that Homer marks a meeting point. Behind the name, we can see individual skill, inherited stories, trained performance, and later written copies. We cannot see how much of the final work belongs to any one person. That uncertainty does not make the poems less remarkable. It changes where we look for the achievement. Before most people could rely on books, rhythm helped singers shape each line. Familiar phrases carried meaning. Repeated scenes held the story together. Memory kept the past close, while every new performance gave the story another chance to survive. Perhaps the strangest thing about Homer is not that we do not know who he was. It is that someone, or generations of people, kept rebuilding these enormous stories until they passed from voice to text and traveled thousands of years to reach us. The author disappeared. The songs survived.
Hey, this is Adam from The Wider Why. We make clear, engaging videos about science, history, technology, and more. Like and subscribe to see the bigger story.